Computer. All righty. Hey, Susanna, it's awesome
See
to
you.
see you and see a
Oh,
face.
so nice to
as
see
opposed
you.
I know, it's awesome. It's amazing to think how long we've actually been hidden out in our little holes.
1 month feels like 1 year.
Crazy,
I
right?
know.
How are
I
you
know.
guys doing during the isolation? You, your family, everybody adjusting?
We're okay. We're taking it one day at a time. My husband and son, Dan and Danny, are still able to do quite a bit of work. They're still considered essential for most of their services, so that's kind of nice to have them still busy. My eldest is home. She's 24. She's been keeping really busy refinishing furniture. We've been reaching out to Southside Paints here, the Benjamin Moore store over in the Kennedy Circle Plaza. We've been picking stuff up off curb pickup, and she's been refinishing furniture for us, so that's been fun. And then my 17-year-old is in the same boat as yours, probably. She's doing online schooling, and her sleep habits are all over the place. And,
Yeah.
And for me, I'm good. One day at a time. I'm kind of enjoying having everyone home, except for all the cooking. But other than that, we're good. What about you?
Yeah, we're about the same. We're lucky in that we don't have little ones at home to have to keep occupied and try and become the teacher. I've got 2 teenagers as well. So I've got one in university, one in high school, and they're pretty self-sufficient. I'm not as good of a mom as you. I'm not cooking nearly as often as you are. I feel they can fend for themselves for the most part. But, we do have a few meals a week that we all sit down together, which we haven't done in a long time. It was my daughter's first year away at university, so it's kind of nice to have her home. I'm being a little greedy that way.
I'm sure.
But we live in the country, so we're tackling a lot of jobs and getting my veggie garden planned. And I did my curbside pickup for veggie seeds and ordered what I couldn't get. So we're doing well. I have to say I'm kind of agreeing with you. I'm really enjoying having the family time. We haven't had it. There's a lot of jokes going on that we'll be COVID divorcing, and I have to say that I feel opposite. My husband and I don't see a lot of each other during the real schedules. Right. And, not having sports schedules and not having him working 6 days a week out of the house, we actually have been able to communicate and see each other a lot more. So it's nice. We joke that we have our dates and go to our curbside pickups. And but
Kim and I have Starbucks dates.
Right?
Yeah, it's, what, there's a lot of this we're going to miss, I think, Kim.
I agree, and it's a matter of keeping the things.
There's a lot of this we're going to miss.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, we froze there for a second, which we may have happen. I do live in the country, like I said, so the internet can be a little bit shaky.
Well, as I said to you before, if we do freeze and we get shaky, I know for a fact that it's happening on CNN. So if it can happen to them, it can happen to us. I actually have a call coming in right now on my phone that I'm trying to ignore. And it's that 17-year-old who is up. What time is it? 11:19.
Exactly.
Look at that.
That's early.
I know. You have no idea how early that is.
Yeah, well, my 18-year-old is not up, and I don't think we'll see her till about 2:30. So I get it. So Susanna, we've actually seen a lot of changes, not just in our everyday lives with our families and stuff, but also in our work environments. How is the current situation looking like for you?
Interesting. We're getting around it though. We're not able to do open houses, but we are doing virtual open houses. It has been going really well for most agents. Showings are also being done virtually for the most part. Inspections have been the tricky one. So inspections can happen one of 2 ways. We can either have the inspector go out to the seller at the time of listing or pre-listing and having that sort of pre-done so that it's ready for the buyer and when they're ready. So that's kind of, that's great. We also have in-person inspections because, sorry, not in person, but rather with the buyer. So what happens is the listing agent is going in, she's making sure that he or she is making sure that they're responsible for opening doors and turning on lights. The inspector only touches what is necessary, and then the agent is going behind them and is disinfecting anything that has been touched by the inspector. And of course, they're going in wearing gloves and masks and all of the things that are necessary to keep everybody safe. And there have been times where we've had one decision maker for the buyer present as well, if necessary. So we're trying to take all precautions to make sure that everybody stays safe while still being able to go through with the transaction. And then there's the stuff that's been sort of like, on the table forever. We're like DocuSign has been something we've been using for a long time. E-transfers are available for deposits. So there's a lot of ways of getting around it. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's always so much nicer to do things in person, but there are people who need to buy and sell right now. There are people who have bought and who need to sell, and vice versa. And transactions need to take place, and we need to find ways around them. So I'm glad that we have the resources to be able to do that. But you, you've always been a mobile agent. How have things changed for you?
Yeah, so I have been a mobile agent. I think the biggest change for me is that I do tend to at least have that one meeting face to face with the family, usually in their home. Usually it's at signing, just because when you first do an application, it's kind of a time sensitive, let's get it done. But I do miss the people for sure. Having said that, about 2 years ago, I decided I wanted to start becoming paperless anyways in my home office. That's where I work. And so I've already kind of implemented a lot of those strategies and process to be able to do that. So it was a pretty easy transition for me. I think the biggest difficulty I do have a puppy, so having a barking dog, which I'm impressed she's having her nap. So that can be a bit challenging, but we all have those situations, kids running around, etc. We have started using a DocuSign, whether it's DocuSign or another software, over the last year. But even before that, I would go and see a client, we'd sign the papers, I'd scan and send them in. So we've always done very digital type documents. One thing we ran into, actually, appraisals. Right when this all hit, I had about 5 different clients that all needed appraisals, and we had no idea how this was going to happen. So initially, didn't matter, still process as usual, but we've now come to a point where it's actually pretty interesting. The appraiser will come to the driveway, call the client, and the client will walk through with their phone and show them what's going on, or send pictures of the different areas they need. So we've totally readjusted the way things work, which I think is great. I did reach out to a few lawyers, because that was the other piece. We know lawyers have to meet clients in person. So that was my other challenge, is I can get through all of my phases, the appraisal phase, but how are they going to sign their final closing documents? And, in all fairness, lawyers don't generally have a plethora of people walking through their office at any given point. So it's usually one family or one couple coming in. There's even a lawyer doing what I was joking that it was a drive-through signing, but essentially they're coming out to the car to sign with the clients. Yeah. So, and again, mask, gloves, hand sanitizer, you name it. So everybody's doing their part. We're still able to proceed business as usual. It's been pretty good, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're getting together today to sort of clarify a few questions that you and I have both been asked quite a bit. So we've heard a lot about families, for example, who are having a tough time managing a budget right now. Some qualify for CERB and have already had it come in. Some are waiting for it to come in. Some don't qualify at all. Let's chat about deferred mortgages and how that's working. We've been hearing quite a bit of it online. I was hoping that maybe today you could take some time to clarify that for us.
Absolutely. So I find the information that we're getting online is very general. And I say this for most of the not online, media sources and whatnot. And I say this not just for mortgages, but for CERB and everything. There's a lot of fine print. There's a lot of caveats that you need to be able to find your way through. So first and foremost, I will say I did reach out to quite a few lenders so that I could get the information for you. I was hoping it was going to be nice and clear cut. This is how this one's doing it. It's not that way. So the consensus that I was getting back from most lenders is it's a case-by-case basis. Many lenders are doing an automatic approval upon request, but then once you fill out your questions, similar to CERB, but once things kind of adjust, they will be looking back to make sure everybody qualified. So keeping that in mind, being very careful that you're doing things the right way. So the first thing that I'm going to be creating a tip sheet. I'm going to put it on my social media, my Facebook, my website. I will share it with you, Susana, and you can share it as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some questions that you need to ask your lenders when you contact them. It's not as easy as, can I defer my payments? You really need to know what that looks like on the other end of things. How is it going to be repaid? How is it going to affect you, etc.? So we're stepping into unprecedented territory, and we want to try to navigate the best way we can. So a lot of the questions that I've been receiving, I've put that together so that you can ask your lenders, and the lenders do ask that you contact them directly if you are in a situation where you require a deferred mortgage situation. But yeah, basically there's a few things that you do need to ask and you need to look into and make sure that you fit the package.
Right. Okay. Now, you say that some lenders are adding, some lenders are adding back to their mortgages, back to the mortgages. How will this amount get paid in the end?
Well, the first thing is it will have to be paid.
Right.
So again, sadly, it's not as easy as this is how it's going to work. Every lender is different. I've heard some lenders where they're basically tacking it onto the back end of the mortgage. So if you're supposed to renew December 2021 and you deferred for 4 months, you're now renewing in April 2022. I've heard some lenders, they are basically taking however much money that you have deferred. So if it's $10,000 in total mortgage payments, and breaking that up over your upcoming mortgage payments once you're back to work, etc. I don't know, because everything seems to be case by case basis, but some of those could be a year, it could be the remainder of your term, etc. My concern with that, and I don't know how everybody, well, I do know how a lot of people do their mortgage assessments in my world. I personally ask a client, what are you comfortable with paying in your budget? So I very rarely will go to the top end of anybody's budget. I like to have that bit of a buffer room, and understand that you have a life and you don't want to be house poor, as they all say. But my concern is, let's say that this new payment is going to increase your existing payments by $100 or $200 every payment. If you didn't qualify for a payment of $100, $200 more when you got your mortgage and your income hasn't changed, you haven't got a raise or anything, you could be in a very tight situation once you're back on track. Yeah. So what I'm suggesting to many people is we have an opportunity right now. Most of us are sitting at home. We're not driving. We're not going to lunch every day. We're, other than groceries, which I think everybody's has increased. We aren't spending the way we generally do. You can't go to Winners and go clothing shopping. So I think this is a really good opportunity to take a look at your bank accounts, see where you're saving right now. And then when things get back on track, where can you continue to save? Let's not go to Winners 3 times a week. And I have to tell my teenager that. Let's not go shopping. And then we'd be able to afford that extra 100 or 2. Or maybe that means you won't be able to do a really big vacation every year. It might be a smaller vacation or one every other year, so that you can make sure you're able to stay on top of your payments. The scary thing is we don't want to turn into the 80s again. We don't want people handing in keys and walking away from their homes. And I have to say the government's doing what they can right now, right? With the CERB payments, with assisting with, assessing
small businesses. There's been so much offered.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think they had that in the 80s. I was a little young then, but I don't think they had those in the 80s. So
no, I don't remember it either. I was young, but I don't remember it.
Right? Exactly.
It wasn't on the top of my my awareness. So now, what about those Canadians who have their property tax and their mortgage insurance as part of their monthly mortgage payment? Are those payments being deferred as well? And if they are, is that even a good idea?
So I haven't heard yet of any lender that's actually deferring those payments. And let's put it this way. If you defer your property tax as well as your mortgage, it just means you're going to have to pay it back more. So continue to pay that. Mortgage insurance, I don't recommend you ever defer that payment. That's something you may need in this crisis, right? You may need to be able to access your mortgage insurance if you become seriously ill. So you don't want to have any deferrals so that if you have to put a claim in, they can say no. So I would say expect, yes, you could potentially defer your mortgage, but do not defer your property tax or your mortgage insurance.
Right. Agreed. Okay. Now, Canadians are pushing their mortgage payments off for a few months. A lot of Canadians. We know that we don't pay our bills on time. When we don't pay our bills on time, our credit gets negatively affected. Is pushing your payments back or deferring your mortgage, not making your mortgage payments, going to affect our credit? Will we see this later?
We are in unprecedented times, and there is a human component to it. So a couple things, my opinions. We did have a call with a lender recently, and that question was asked flat out, and he responded the same way as I. We really don't know. But I would say to you, your best bet is do the deferral process properly. Go through your lender, keep your paperwork so you have all correspondence and confirmations in a packet because you may need it in the future. The way the reporting works is your lender reports to the credit bureau agency whether something has been paid. I would like to think that if you're on a deferral program, they will still report that everything is in good standing. Therefore, your credit won't be affected. But again, there are thousands and thousands of people doing this. So we don't know if the systems are able to do these things on a quick turnaround time. So that's why I say keep your documentation, because if, for instance, you and Dan came to me in 3 years and said, hey, Kim, we're up for renewal, but you had a space, between March and June of 2020 where you didn't pay your bill or your mortgage, and we can see that on your bureau and it's affected your bureau. I want to at least be able to say, okay, Susana, but what happened here? Were you affected by COVID? Because that tends to be the situation. I want my clients to be able to say to me, yes, and I have all my paperwork. I don't know why it's hitting my bureau. I can then not only help you get it back to the bureau agency to say, hey, can we clean this up? But
and
also
find that human component.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But I can also say to my new lender that I may be putting you with, hey, here's what happened. I have all the correspondence. We don't know why it hit the bureau the way it did. Can you make an exception? And based on what I've seen in my 13 years of being in the mortgage industry, we do have hearts. We are compassionate people. Our lenders are compassionate people. They are in the same situation. So many times, if there's a specific time frame and you can clearly identify what that is, and you rebuilt your credits from that point onto when you need it, they are going to make those exceptions. So keep your paperwork, do the deferral program the right way. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Crazy time of the unknown, eh?
Yeah.
So if clients want to get that process started where they want to try and defer their mortgage payments, how do they get in touch with their mortgage companies? What do you suggest they do to get the process started?
Well, first and foremost, if you have lost your job or your income has been impacted, by all means, you are the priority. You should be contacting your lender. If you're just wondering what will happen, I highly recommend you do your research. If the lender you're with has an online portal, online banking, etc., they have information on there as to how they're handling things. A couple of my lenders, RMG and MCAP, they actually have an automatic 1 month request that you log into your portal and I need to defer. They're doing it automatically, but remember, they will go back and say, did you actually get impacted? So you don't want to just hit it because you think, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. I'd rather have a buffer. You want to make sure that you are officially impacted so that you can tuck that away. We also have lenders, First National, they have a form that you fill out and send in. We have lenders that want emails. So one piece I tell you is email, but in your subject line, deferral payment request or mortgage deferral payment request with your mortgage number right in the subject line so they can streamline through. And again, if you have questions, reach out to your mortgage agent, whether it's a broker, whether it's a bank rep that you've used, but whoever you did your mortgage with, reach out to them. Or if you're not in touch with them, by all means, you can reach out to me. I'll help you as best I can. I did put a phone number sheet up on my social media a couple of weeks ago with some of the main phone numbers. By all means, you can call, but you will be waiting quite a bit. And I do recommend that you leave those lines open for those who have lost their jobs and have an income impact for sure.
Right. So yeah, lots of information. I suppose the first step would be for everyone to check their information. You can find that information through your mortgage company or any online platforms that they may have. I think, did you have anything more to add to that, or?
No, I think that's fair. Like I said, most lenders have been pretty upfront with putting it out there. Credit unions have actually emailed, from the one guy I was talking to at Meridian Credit Union. They've actually emailed their customers. So they're saying, hey, we understand this situation. Let us know if you've been impacted. Watch your email. Don't just think it's junk mail. It might actually be applicable. Also be careful of the spam emails, but definitely log in and see what's on there.
That's the thing about the spam right now, is there's so much COVID-19 spam that, I'll be honest, I myself have missed a couple of some really important information just because I assume it's spam, and then I go through and go, oh, there it is.
Yeah, I totally agree.
There it is.
I keep forgetting to check my spam folder because I'm checking all the other emails so often. It's like, oh shoot, I got to go in there. There might be something valid in there. So yeah.
So here's a fun question I've been asked. Are there any mortgage companies that are waiving interest?
I saw that question out there as well. No, No, they're not. You would have been paying interest whether or not you were in this situation. You're in a contract. Put yourself in a lender's shoes. You still have to run your business. And I caution those who are asking for it. We want to make sure that we don't come out in the end going into 18+% again, like we saw in the 80s. We want to make sure that everybody's getting their piece. So no one's going to waive interest. And I would hate to think that when you come up for renewal, if they did waive interest, because we know that nothing is ever fully waived, that now your rates in 3 or 5 years are 6, 7, 8%. Like that would put a huge impact on everybody. So no, understand that no one's going to waive interest. We can't.
Understood.
We can't. As an economy, we can't. Mm-hmm.
Understood. Yeah.
Alrighty. So Susana, what do you see in the future once this is over? Like for you, like how is it going to impact you? What are you going to change? What are you going to do?
On a personal note, I don't know that everything about this is a bad thing. I think there's a lot of this that I'd like to try to keep the same. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know. There have been some personal lessons learned, what's important and what's not, and I'm kind of liking the slower pace, I guess you could call it. I think I'm going to be very mindful of that going into things when things change. From a real estate perspective, I see things going back to, I see the real estate market thriving quicker than most people would think it would when this is all over. I do think that, you heard Ford yesterday say that this is not going to be an on-off switch or off-on switch. It's going to be gradual. But I think that eventually the real estate market is going to start thriving again. So, life circumstances always change. There's always a need to buy and sell. People, we all need shelter. There will always be buyers, sellers, and renters out there. So I do see things getting back to normal pretty quickly. And I do see the real estate market thriving again quicker than we think. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to sitting at, kitchen tables and getting to know families and their situations and helping them in person through the transaction. I'm not going to lie. This is not my gig. I don't, I love technology. I love that it's being able to get us through this. It's not how I do things. So I'm looking forward to getting back to normal for sure. What about you? How do you think?
I agree. I'm taking a lot of what I'm learning with the technology side, and I'm going to be redoing some of my process just to be able to help that many more people. But I can't wait to see people in person. And I've made so many good friends with my clients over the last 13 years that I miss them. But I'm also looking at, taking advantage of like Zoom and whatnot and offering more technology. And I've got a couple things in the pipe that I think are going to be pretty exciting and be able to reach a lot more people. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm like you, like there's going to be things that I think we really need to take. We're appreciating the family time, the forced family time that we have right now. And that's something that in our industry as well, especially, we get so busy and last minute requests to run out and do appraisals and showings and pre-approvals and whatnot. I think that we need to be mindful, like you said, and put those priorities. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of a family life balance or family work balance with many people once this is over.
I hope so. I hope so. I really do.
Yeah. I also think from my market or my industry, I hate to say this. I'm putting it on camera, but I do think right now the rates are still competitive. Absolutely. I do think once the end and we get back to, I do think we're going to see some rate increases. We have to rejuvenate our economy. Sure. So I do suspect that we're going to start seeing the rates coming up a little bit. Don't panic. It's not 18%. Even if we're in the threes again, that's still reasonable. My first mortgage was 6.1% back in 2001, and I was ecstatic because it was so good at the time. Right. So, it's the unknown. A lot of our younger buyers aren't aware of what that looked like, but just be mindful. I also think that we're going to see a lot of people be a little more aware of their finances. So maybe not needing to have that higher end home right away and doing a couple more purchases to get there so that we can make sure. And I think this was a bit of a shock to everybody. And I think that we're going to start seeing people really tuck away 3 to 5 months of emergency funds where we talk about it all the time, but this is really proven how many don't have that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we'll all be very mindful of that for sure. So for anyone watching, if you have any questions about the housing market, about the value of your home, whether this is a good time to buy or sell, what the rates are doing, whether you should be deferring your mortgage or not, any questions that you may have, both on the mortgage side or the real estate side, please feel free to reach out. Again, whether or not you're using us for the service or not is irrelevant. We're here to help. We're here to answer questions. Just chat. I think that people are just kind of hungry to chat right now, and that's okay too. I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. Kim, did you have anything else to add, or?
No, I completely agree. If you're wondering, is your house value going to be impacted, or can I refinance now or later, or what does that look like? We're here, and like you said, we're hungry to chat. We're missing our people.
Yeah, we are.
So,
we are.
By all means, reach out.
Okay.
We will put at the end of this on here. We will put our contact points on here. So we have social media, email, phone numbers, etc. And by all means, reach out, and hopefully we'll get to see you over a real coffee soon.
Chat soon. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Kim, so nice to see you. Okay,
you too. Stay safe and healthy.
You too. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.